here's the thing that I find extraordinary, and it's this, Lindy, which is he's on record, Mamdani, as wanting to defund the New York Police Department.
Thank you, Piers.
And calling them a bunch of racists. I would have thought, I mean, call me old-fashioned, but anybody that literally posted that the racist NYPD should be defunded, that would be disqualifying to be mayor of New York. And yet here he is, mayor of New York.
Why would that be disqualifying?
Piers, amen. Thank you
Why
for
would that be
bringing
disqualifying?
This
to say
is
you
New York
should
City.
defund the NYPD.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
New York City.
What's the answer to the question?
Mark, it's my turn.
Let Lindy go first, and I'll let you respond.
I'm not cutting you off. I'm asking a question.
Please, let me finish. 40% of unsolved murders. This is New York City, the biggest city in the country, and 40% of murders have been unsolved. And he wants to defund the police? Yeah, okay. And then according to some studies, 25% of New York, they want to flee because of his policies, okay? He's on a speedway to hell. And another thing is, Mark, I felt like I was talking to, what's his name? Frank Luntz. I felt like I was listening to a new age therapist. Like, is he crazy? He wants to put forward people like Wes Moore and Cory Booker. Let's go through his people. Like, for example, Cory Booker tried the presidential campaign thing already. He was polling at 1% to 2%. Okay, so we already tried that. The trial balloon failed. Number two, Wes Moore, he lied about getting a Bronze Star. These are the people that Frank Luntz wants to be the face of the Democratic Party? Then please, sounds good to me. And then he talks about the importance of Prop 50. Yes, it's important, but I also think it's a gift to Republicans because in this case, it allows Republicans to tie Gavin Newsom's failed policies to him. There's no way to disentangle the two. We are now able to tie $7 per gallon gas to Gavin Newsom. We can tie homeless encampments all across the state to Gavin Newsom. And you know what, Gavin Newsom, this is all about him running for 2028. This wasn't about the people of California. Right. This was
it may be. Hang on. Don't talk at once. Hang on. Okay, I'll come to you, Mark, in a moment. But Vinny, I did find, Mark was asking me, well, what's wrong with saying defund the NYPD? I think a lot. If somebody was running for mayor of London on a ticket of defund the Metropolitan Police, I would think that's completely disqualifying, right?
What is defunding
the idea that you brand? Well, hang on, Mark. I'll come back to you.
Hold on, Mark. He asked me a question, Mark. What are you talking about, bro? You're the mayor of the city, and you're saying to defund the police department, and you don't think that's some crazy outlandish ish to say?
He's actually not saying that. He's actually not saying that.
When I tell you,
well, he did say that.
Listen,
he did say
Aaron.
Not during the campaign.
Aaron, your job
not during the campaign, but it is on his record.
Every single lie.
Yes, sure. Let him finish.
It's on his record. And let me explain something, Piers. A couple of lies. He hates billionaires, right? Who funded his campaign? Soros, okay? He lied about defunding the police. He said he took that back. He lied about his aunt wearing a hijab on the subway. She wasn't his aunt, and she wasn't in New York City. Hold on. And he wants to legalize prostitution. And he wants to legalize prostitution. Or am I lying about that?
No, he doesn't.
You have to stick up. Your narrative has to stick it. You have to. Because you're full of it, bro. And hold on, last thing, and I'll give you the floor. And Lindy nailed it. Cory Booker, Wes Moore. Hold on, I'll give you the floor. Give me 10 seconds. Piers, you heard Frank Luntz, and Lindy's right. They want to name all these Democrats. What's the first order of business that Newsom, Cory Booker, Wes Moore, they're all going to do? Number one, they're going to open up the border because they love illegals, okay? That's going to be number one. So every American that's watching this, don't get it twisted.
Okay, Vinny.
The moment a Democrat comes into power, the border's wide open. And what are you going to do? Nothing. Because nobody in your family's getting freaking touched by it.
Wait,
so shut up with that noise.
Wait. Don't all talk at once. Don't all shout at once.
Can I make this one quick point about the border?
Hang on. If you all talk, no one can hear any of you. Marc Lamont Hill, the floor is yours.
Thank you. What I'm disputing here is how we're defining, or very interestingly, not defining defunding. You all are saying defunding and laying it out there, as many people have, which would suggest that he's saying, let's get rid of the police department and take care of and get rid of all of its resources, that we're just going to fire the police, which is not what he's saying. If he were saying that, that probably would be disqualifying to be mayor. What defunding means is taking money out of the police department and placing it in other departments where that work could be done. So when you give the example of, let me finish. So when you give the example of unsolved murders, when you give the example of unsolved murders, defunding does not affect unsolved murders in that way. In fact, to the contrary, it would help to solve murders, and I'll tell you how. When police come out right now, and I'm only telling you this as someone who's written several books on this and has been part of the defunding movement for a decade. So you can shake your head, but I'm only giving you facts. You can disagree with my approach, but I'm telling you what the actual defunding movement is. When we say defunding, what we're talking about is saying right now, if someone has a drug overdose or someone has a mental health crisis, the police get sent out there. When someone is jaywalking, the police have to stop them, give them a ticket in many cities. We're using the police as tax collectors, as therapists, and as counselors. Defunding says let's take some of those resources that we're making the police do for jobs that they shouldn't be doing, and let's give them to therapists, to social workers, to drug treatment counselors, and let the police focus on, I don't know, policing. And so defunding is actually
Mark, hang on. Mark, he also called
I just want to say accurately define defunding, even if you disagree with it.
I understand. No, I listened to you. You had the floor. But he also called the NYPD a racist organization. Racist.
Also, he said queer liberation.
No, hang on, Lindy. Hang on. Please, look. It's much easier if everyone answers the question I pose to them. So let me just ask Mark. Mark, do you believe the NYPD is racist?
Yes.
All of them?
Oh, God. There it is.
No, you just moved the goalpost. No, hold on.
Middle Easterns, they're all racist.
No, hold on. You asked me if the department was the institution, and then you just said all of them as in individuals. Do I think every police officer is racist? Of course not. But we're talking about systemic racism. It's just like saying the school system sucks. It doesn't mean every teacher sucks, but the system itself doesn't work.
Going after crime does not make you racist.
I agree, but shooting unarmed black people does. Targeting black people.
Let me bring in Aaron. 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 Let me bring in
other things that
let me bring in Aaron,
please. And attack that, or you can address what I actually said.
Let me bring in Aaron.
Crime is up 30% in New York City.
I'm going to bring in Aaron if it kills me. So let me bring in Aaron.
You can't die, Piers.
Here's my problem with Mamdani and why I call him a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm always very distrusting of politicians who post this kind of stuff 3-4 years ago, but now want us to believe that's not their real opinion. I think that is what he genuinely feels about the NYPD. And by the way, he's allowed to. We live in a free country. He can express that view, and I believe it was honestly held. But this sudden transformation to, oh, no, I don't think the NYPD is racist. Oh, no, I don't think that they should be defunded and so on. It's just a little bit too close to when he did believe that for me to think this guy is a serious person. You know, his views haven't changed in 3 years. His desire for power has, Aaron.
Sure, yeah. I mean, people will sometimes say things to get elected. That's called being a politician. It's part of the job. And I don't know what's inside his head. I don't know what his views are. But there's plenty of evidence, as Mark laid out, for why one would think that the NYPD is a racist institution. Not saying every single police officer, but institutionally is. And so I understand why he would think that. And on the issue of policy, defunding the police, Mark laid out what that means. Mamdani wants to create a Department of Community Safety, promoting community-based solutions to problems that can be handled by people in the community, which is proven. There's a long a scholarship on this about how these solutions work, and other cities do it. And it has support among the majority of New York City Council, so it's not even a radical thing. And yeah, listen, I'm sure Mamdani is being pragmatic in some ways. It's called being a politician. You have to make compromises sometimes. But the bottom line is this. He centered the issue of affordability. He spoke to issues that nobody else was talking about. He sent a message of hope across the country to people who are feeling left out of politics. And look what happened in New York City. He got more than 100,000 people to turn out for him, to volunteer, to knock on doors. So people feel connected to his message. People feel that he stands by his convictions. And he got a record turnout, almost double the number of voters turned out in this election than did 4 years ago.
But only 51% voted. Only 51% voted for him, and a large number of people voted for the other Democrat.
Only the majority.
Well, no, enough to win.
He's peddling
Wait
a bunch
minute,
of lies.
Lindy, don't start shouting. Enough to win, but pretty close with the other Democrat candidate, who is the kind of antithesis on the Democrat side of everything Mamdani stands for, which comes back, I think, to the original point I was making. It could be a very great night for Mamdani, unquestionably, a great night for the progressive left wing of the Democratic Party. But actually, if he turns out to be a dud, as we've seen in the UK with Keir Starmer's Labour Party, and he can't deliver on the promises, and he ends up just taxing the hell out of everybody, if that happens, this could become a real millstone around the neck of the Democrats leading into the midterms and then particularly the general election, I think. Lindy.
Well, listen, sure, of course, anything's possible.
President Trump has already said he's going to withhold $18 billion. Aaron, I'm talking. President Trump has already promised, he's vowed to withhold $18 billion in federal funding. Governor Hochul has also said she's not going to, go all in all the socialist policies. Where is he going to get his money from? All the billionaires are fleeing. Hundreds of thousands of people might leave New York. Where do you think he's going to get the money to fuel his boondoggle? This is absolutely insane. And by the way, I want to quote exactly what he said. This is not us putting words in his mouth. He said,
I get it. Look,
queer liberation means defund the police. And for you to have to interpret what he said and use a Zohran Mamdani dictionary to put the best light on his words is absolutely shameful. He hates these people. He thinks they're racist. Look, just to remind you, if you're a member of the NYPD, your new mayor 5 years ago said the NYPD were racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety and called to defund you. In 2023, just 2 years ago, at the Democrat Socialists of America's convention, Mamdani said, we have to make clear that when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. Vinny, your final thought on that.
That was 100% correct. He's referring to the fact that the NYPD
by the IDF. Because Piers, I don't know about you. You're in New York, Piers. I'm from New York, and there's nothing that makes me happy. You know what makes me comfortable, Piers? That if I'm getting stabbed or burned to death on the subway, I want a social worker to come and just calm the murderer down, okay? If you never lived in New York and you've never been on a subway, don't talk to me about crime and cops being racist. They have the hardest freaking jobs on the planet. For the last 20 years. And look at the stats about how racist they are. And what are the stats? What are the odds? Give me the percentage of a cop shooting an unarmed black person in America. What's the number? It's so outlandish that it's such a big thing that they're racist. Give me a break. You guys are all being duped by Mamdani, but I love what Lindy said. Lindy, I'm actually going to adopt that mindset. Is let them do it, Piers. Let them happen. They're going to freaking feel it. And all the New Yorkers that are leaving, that have all the money, when they're all left and the dust settles, and be like, wait a minute, who's going to pay for all the free shit that Mamdani said? And you guys, they're going to feel the freaking wrath. You'll see it, Piers.
Well, it's interesting. People, hang on, final point. People are trying to compare this to London, where Sadiq Khan's been mayor now, won 3 terms. Actually, it's the wrong comparison. They happen to both be Muslims, but Sadiq Khan's quite a establishment figure of the Labour Party. Go back to the start of the century to Red Ken Livingstone, who was a genuine socialist. He presided over London for 8 years, and you know what? It wasn't that bad.